Imagine a movie so thunderous its echo still rings nearly 70 years later. The Ten Commandments is one of those rare visual epics where every frame feels forged by the hand of fate. Stick around because we're about to explore the incredible film craft that makes the Ten Commandments the film equivalent of a cathedral in motion. Let's start with the format. Most movies were shot in the Academy format or format similar to Super 35. However, the Ten Commandments was shot in VistaVision. It allowed for bigger and sharper pictures where you get greater color gradations and tonality. It makes the costumes, the walls, the skin tones all look so rich and lifelike you have no choice but to keep staring. For these incredible colors, you have to credit the Technicolor process. In the Ten Commandments, each print was coated with 3 dye layers: cyan, magenta, and yellow. It's an extra step that gives colors a depth unlike any other. Skin tones look warm and real, reds glow, blues shimmer. VistaVision and Technicolor work together to give the image less grain, deeper blacks, and colors that pop off the screen, like a painting brought to life. Even today, a well-made transfer print can be surprisingly sharp, and unlike some other film processes, they hold up over time and don't fade nearly as fast. The world was still recovering from the shock of a brutal world war, and director Cecil DeMille believed this was the story people needed to revisit. He knew it inside out because he'd already directed the Ten Commandments once before, but this time he wanted to go bigger, more emotion, more scale, and as close to the original source as he could get. It matters so much to him that he appears on screen before the movie even begins to tell us why he made it.
This may seem an unusual procedure, speaking to you before the picture begins.
It was also the only movie he shot in the widescreen format, so he was rigorous enough to have 1,200 storyboard sketches drawn to nail down the visuals. The blocking is formal like paintings called tableaus, packed with detail. Notice how the compositions are so dynamic when held for many seconds. Your eye is given enough time to wander in a circle and never get bored. Your attention is only drawn to the things he wants you to see. Mostly it's the eyes of all the characters, in which they all look like stars. Then suddenly he yanks that privilege and makes them tiny against the might of nature and destiny. They appear almost mythical, carefully framed to show a strength they haven't yet discovered in themselves. If DeMille was taking a risk with widescreen, he needed an ally he could trust. Cinematographer Loyal Griggs was the perfect companion to bring his vision to life. He was hot for having won an Oscar the previous year, and the responsibility to bring the right amount of reverence to a film of this scale must have been enormous. But he was up to the task. The lighting in this movie is a huge reason it still looks so good. Interiors glow with warm firelight, exteriors are full of bright sun or soft twilight. Great attention was paid to make the frames look like paintings, especially those by Caravaggio and his famous technique of chiaroscuro. A lot of the beauty is in the lighting of textures, the drapes and clothes, the shimmering gold and silver. They seem so rich, as if the actors are wearing real precious metals. Camera movement is slow but effective. Most of the film is shot in strong still frames. When the camera moves, it does so to draw attention to a detail. These moments are used sparingly, which gives them more power and never distracts from the story unfolding before our eyes. Here's a crane shot that pulls back to reveal more and more information and depth in the setting. No corners were cut in the Ten Commandments. A big part of what makes this movie shine is the scale. Real sets, real people, real locations. They shot some of the exteriors in Egypt. Thousands of extras were dressed in full costume, each one doing something, moving, reacting, filling the frame with life. The crew built enormous sets and statues, carved out towering gates and massive walls, and all of it is right there in front of the camera. That physicality makes you feel like you're truly seeing what it might have been like in the time of Moses, under the rule of the pharaohs. Over 15,000 costumes were made for this film, and none of them look cheap. You can tell who's rich, who's poor just by what they're wearing, even if it's just a black wrap. The makeup and hair are just as strong. Characters look remarkably lifelike, not caricatures. You believe these people are real, even if you don't believe in the events portrayed. But what everyone remembers most about the Ten Commandments are the visual effects scenes, made in a time long before computers were a thing. Today, if you want to isolate a character and replace backgrounds, you film them against a green or blue screen and then digitally remove the color. That wasn't possible in 1956. Special effects supervisor John Fulton was in charge of bringing the impossible to life, and he had one powerful tool to help him: the optical printer. The optical printer lets filmmakers combine blue screen footage with separately filmed backgrounds, all layered together with precision. The same technology and the same format, VistaVision, would later be used for another small film you might have heard of. That one had a bit of visual magic too. But the crown jewel of visual effects at the time, and the moment everyone remembers from the Ten Commandments, is the parting of the Red Sea. Steven Spielberg called it the greatest visual effect in the history of cinema. Even today it holds up. The water splits, the path clears, people walk through. It's quiet by today's standards, no drone shots, but it moves you in a way no amount of computer-generated wizardry can. They treated the scene like it was a rite of passage. It's not just another effect shot, it is the effect shot. How was it done? With water tanks. They filmed water pouring into a tank, then played it in reverse. The actors knew where to walk, the lighting matched, and because they used real water and sand, it still feels grounded and visceral. Dare I say it feels like a miracle? There are other effects too. The burning bush, sticks turning into snakes, water turning red, the dark angel floating over Egypt, all done with practical effects, animation, smoke, lights, and miniatures. Take that, Marvel. There's even light shooting up to the sky. God mode. They even went so far as to rain down spray-painted popcorn as hail. But the magic isn't just in the effects, it's in how the actors are used. This is a film that thinks big, even when it comes to faces. And the face at the center of it all is Moses. DeMille cast Charlton Heston because he looked like a statue of Moses, and he was able to show equal amounts of fire and pain in a single glance. He stands tall, moves with purpose. If you can command the frame, you can command an army. That's also true of the other leads. The character of Ramses doesn't get nearly as much credit, but the performance by Yul Brynner is equal to Heston's efforts. It would have been so easy for either roles to slip into parody or theatrics, but when you find that perfect balance, you get legend. Now add the music. The score by Elmer Bernstein is big and bold, full orchestra. He wasn't supposed to be the composer and was only chosen for certain sections, but DeMille liked his work so much he gave him the whole job. What holds all of this together is the respect the filmmakers have for the story. The visuals match the tone. They let everything breathe and don't rush to overwhelm. The movie trusts the audience. It assumes you're here to feel something, so it gives you the space and time to do that. And just when you think it's all over after the Red Sea moment, it's not. There's still one more massive chapter, Moses receiving the 10 Commandments, airdropped straight from the heavens. And between all this, somehow DeMille even finds a way to show an orgy, in a way children can watch. I was watching it with my daughter and she turned to me and asked, "Are the women being troubled?" I said, "No, they're not being troubled. They're troubling the adults watching this." There's a lesson in this scene for everyone. No one's saying it's effortless to stay moral and true. If it isn't easy for the prophets, it's not going to be easy for anyone. The 10 Commandments as a story might not be to everyone's taste, but the core morals and the fight for freedom are universal subjects. Nobody's hitting you on the head with anything, and that's what a good movie does. It just tells a good story with class. And as ruthless a tyrant DeMille is made out to be, he appreciated his crew, especially his cameraman. He did share his profits with his associates, and there were a ton of profits. It was the highest grossing movie at the time, second only to Gone with the Wind. I've only seen it on television as a kid, and it still made an impression on me. Imagine watching it on the giant screen back in the 50s, or even during the re-releases over the years, especially on 70mm. So to answer the question, why does the 10 Commandments still look like $1 billion? Because the film wasn't made just to make money. I'm sure Cecil DeMille was weighed down with a whole lot more. He suffered a heart attack during production while climbing 130 feet to check a faulty camera. He returned to work 2 days later. Sadly, The 10 Commandments was the last movie he directed before he passed away. And what a swan song to end your career with a statement for the ages. If you haven't watched it, please do, and make it a double bill. Please watch my film, A Count of 10, on Amazon Prime. I'll put the links in the description.